The adequate notice of this regular meet. Let me start again. The adequate notice of this regular meeting as required by the Open Public Meetings Act was provided by the posting, mailing, delivery, and filing of this notice on January 5, 2022. This notice was on that date posted on the bulletin board in the township office, sent to the Courier News, the Echo Sentinel, and Tappan to Warren, and filed with the township clerk of the Township of Warren, all in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Please join me in rising for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will call the roll now. Mr. Bishi,
Here.
Mr. Crozen,
Here.
Mr. Desai, Mrs. DiMaggio, Ms. Keller,
Here.
Mr. Valentino, Mr. Weinstein,
Here.
Mrs. Zahn,
Here.
Mr. Brzee.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you.
Resolved that the Board of Education approves the public and private session minutes of the September 19th, 2022 board meeting.
Second.
Shall I call the roll?
Yes, please.
Mr. Bishi,
Yes.
Mr. Crozen,
Yes.
Ms. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Zahn,
Yes.
Mr. Brzee.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Correspondence and information, Dr. Mingle.
Thank you, Mr. Brzee. We have, the board received two pieces of correspondence. One was a card from staff members regarding the $500 bonus, and one was an email regarding health curriculum. And then on the suspension report, there have been two suspensions, both out of school, one at Central and one at Woodland.
Thank you, Dr. Mingle. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us, whether in person or on Zoom. We certainly appreciate the participation. My comments tonight will be on the brief side. For items C1 and C2, my customary welcome to these new full-time staff members and substitute staff members. We hope you are as excited to be here as we are to have you. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Mingle.
Thank you, Mr. Brazil. Just two things. First, I do want to recognize that yesterday was National School Custodian Day. You might have seen some information about that on social media, thanks to Ms. Regan. As I'm sure certainly the staff and students are aware, but probably most of our parent community knows as well, we are extremely fortunate in Warren to have exceptional buildings and grounds, maintenance and custodial staffs. Our buildings are kept in phenomenal shape. And so we just want to say thank you for all the work that they do every day to keep our schools shining the way they do. And we're happy to welcome a few more people to those departments on tonight's agenda as well. Second, a Warren resident reached out to me with concern regarding a letter that they received about the upcoming election. And so I just want to address that briefly tonight. The letter appears to have been sent to a subset of registered voters in Warren. In part, the letter asserts that teachers in Warren are being forced to discuss inappropriate topics with students, including gender fluidity in kindergarten and anal sex to grammar school students. I have no desire to be in the middle of any partisan attacks. However, I wouldn't be fulfilling my duty as the Warren Township School District Superintendent if I didn't address the false statements that are in that letter. Neither the state standards, nor the proposed local curriculum that failed, nor the enacted local curriculum that's in place right now address gender fluidity with kindergartners or anal sex with grammar school students. I call on the members of this board, the other elected officials representing Warren Township, and all those who seek public office here to please help us bring down the tone of inflammatory statements that place the school district in the middle of these kinds of political disputes. Reasonable people can and should disagree on important matters like what students learn in schools, especially in public schools in our democracy. We should be demonstrating a way to do that with a high level of professionalism and factual information. For community members who have questions or concerns about anything in our curriculum, I ask you to reach out to me and I will be happy to address that and give you the information that you seek. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mingle. And thank you certainly to our custodians on behalf of the board. I missed that, so that was my miss. We will move on. The agenda presentations, we have nothing scheduled. Discussion, similarly, nothing scheduled. We will move on to committee reports, Curriculum Communications and Technology Committee. Ms. Laura Keller.
The committee met on Monday, September 19th. Mr. Bishi, Mr. Croson, Mrs. DiMaggio, myself were all present. We reviewed the preliminary NJSLA results, which was the first administration of this assessment within the district. The review and analysis of the results will continue over the next few weeks. We reviewed the feedback from students, teachers, and judges on the capstone project to inform recommendations for this year's implementation of it. We discussed revisions to the K-5 report cards and future work on the middle school report cards. And we discussed the curriculum committee goals for the year, which align to the recently adopted district goals. They are on the agenda tonight for approval, A3. They include, under the category of student achievement, prioritize social emotional learning as a foundational component of academic growth and success. And under the category of belonging, increase staff capacity to understand and engage with equity issues in order to support staff and students, create a culture that values belonging and community, and incorporate student voice in the concept of belonging. And then we briefly discussed the health curriculum and parent information sessions. Good.
Thank you, Ms. Keller. Finance, Operations, and Security, I don't believe we had anything. Personnel and Negotiations Committee, this would be from August 29th. Mr. Weinstein.
So we met on August 29th. We also met this evening. I'm going to be recapping the August 29th meeting, and then I'll recap this evening's meeting at the next board meeting. So within the August 29th meeting, we looked at 2021 and 22 review, in which we reevaluated some titles and job descriptions based on emerging needs of the district and just some slight changes in terms of what these folks were hired to do and what they're actually doing right now. We also began preliminary discussions to prep for the WTAA negotiations in terms of process overview and then reviewing the current contract. This is going to continue to take shape, something that we're hoping to come to consensus on early next year. The drop dead date, or the date we absolutely have to have an agreement in place, is June next year. So we're working towards that, but looking to get it resolved earlier. And then, like I said, there'll be another recap at the next board meeting based on this evening's Personnel Committee meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein. There was also an ad hoc planning for elementary growth committee meeting on September 22nd, 2022. Ms. Keller, are you
Yeah.
going to?
Mhm.
Thank you.
That committee, so now the ad hoc planning for elementary growth committee met on September 22nd. Mr. Bishi, Mr. Brzee, and myself were present. It's been, some time has passed since there's been an update on this, so I wanted to remind everybody of what has happened over the past year leading up to then what we discussed in that meeting. So the Elementary Growth Working Group, which was comprised of parents, teachers, administration, and Board of Ed members, met 4 times last year to workshop options for handling the current and future growth of the elementary student population. The group also solicited broader community feedback through a survey last November and had 2 community update and input sessions. A demographer was also engaged to conduct a demographic study to project our student population over the next 5 years. Based on these activities, the working group decided that rezoning was the recommended solution for 2023 implementation. And the Board of Education unanimously passed the resolution at the April 11th meeting. Since then, administration led by Mr. Cook and Mr. Kimmick has worked with the demographer on rezoning activities and have developed draft maps. They were shared with this ad hoc committee on September 22nd. And the committee discussed them and the new zones. We spent a decent amount of time discussing the optimal way to communicate the final zones to the community. These zones will be finalized after looking at transportation and routing impacts. And a detailed communication schedule, including community meetings, will be shared with the ad hoc committee and the broader public in the future.
Thank you, Ms. Keller. Seeing no more committee reports, we'll move on to public commentary. This will be the first of 2 of the public commentary agenda items. This is for agenda items, excuse me. First of 2 public commentary sessions. This is for agenda items only. Participants will have 3 minutes to share their comments and feedback with the board. If you could kindly state your name and address, group affiliation if appropriate, it would be appreciated. We will start in the room, if there's anyone in the room. Seeing none. We will move to online. If there's any Zoom participants, this is for agenda items only. If you could kindly use the raise your hand feature, we would be happy to hear your comments. Seeing none, is there a motion to close?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The first public commentary session has concluded. There will be another one at the tail end of the meeting. Dr. Mingle, items for board consideration and action. Are there any items you wish to share updates on?
Just one. I just wanted to point out that I think I've already shared this with the board, but you'll see under B1 travel approval for 2 staff members to go to the New Jersey School Boards Association Conference. You've already seen travel approval for others for that. That is because the district was selected, actually, I believe it was Mr. Brzee's idea originally, for a workshop presentation where Mr. Brzee will be representing as a board president, Ms. Andrews as the WTEA president, Mr. Heaney as the WTAA president, and me as superintendent, to talk about how we collaborated throughout the COVID period to make sure that we were communicating with one voice, that we were getting stakeholder input, so that when the board was considering recommendations, it was doing it with the voices of people from all different parts of the community. So it's pretty exciting to have the district be selected for that spot during workshop. So congratulations to everybody involved, and we'll report back, not the next meeting, but 2 meetings from now, about how it went.
Thank you, Dr. Mingle. Are there any agenda items any board member wishes to further discuss or pull for separate vote? Seeing none. Ms. Keller,
Motion to approve items for board consideration A1 through A3, B1, C1 through C15, and D1.
Second.
have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bishi,
Yes.
Mr. Crozen,
Yes.
Mr. Desai,
Yes.
Ms. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Zahn,
Yes.
Mr. Brzee.
Yes.
Motion's carry 7-0.
Thank you. Moving on to unfinished business. I don't believe there's any on the agenda. New business, similarly, nothing on the agenda. Back to public commentary. This is our second public commentary and final for the evening. This can be on any topic, whether it is on the agenda or not. If members of the public could kindly state their name and address, you'll have 3 minutes to provide your comments and feedback with the board. We could start in the room. We will move on to Zoom. If you could kindly use the raise your hand feature of Zoom. We will call on you and you'll have 3 minutes to share your comments and feedback with the board. Seeing none, is there a motion to close public commentary?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Public commentary is now closed.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.